Let me tell you the truth about what happened to Lot's wife. Because in the Bible, it speaks about how Lot's wife looked back at Sodom and Gomorrah when it was being destroyed, and she was turned into a pillar of salt. We should all know this story by now as believers. Now, what we need to understand is that when Lot and his wife and his two daughters were being carried out or dragged out, so to speak, by the angels, it speaks about how the angel said, don't look back. And it says how Lot's wife looked back and she was turned into a pillar of salt. Now we think to ourselves that she just looked back at Sodom and Gomorrah being destroyed and she was turned into a pillar of salt. That's not the case. That's not what happened whatsoever. The Bible says in the New Testament that he who puts his hand to the plow looking back is not fit for the kingdom. Meaning, if you follow Christ and you decide to look back, you're not fit for the kingdom. Meaning, you decide to go back into the world. You change your mind. This is the same thing that happened with Lot's wife. When Lot's wife and Lot, they were taken out of Sodom and Gomorrah, one of the things that you need to understand is that Lot was a governmental official. Lot was very rich. Lot was very wealthy. Lot had his house and his wealth was inside Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot's wife liked the luxury lifestyle. So when she was taken out of Sodom and Gomorrah, she yearned to go back to Sodom and Gomorrah, back to her lifestyle. And also remember, her children and her sons and daughter-in-laws were also left back in Sodom and Gomorrah. So she wanted to go back to that lifestyle. That's what it meant by she looked back and she was turned into a pillar of salt, because she took her hand or let go of the angel's hand. She travelled back to Sodom and Gomorrah, and while she was there, fire and brimstone rained down and Lot's wife was destroyed and she was turned into a pillar of salt, which we know is a byproduct of fire and brimstone. The byproduct is sulfur or salt, or the byproduct is salt. That's the reason why at the Dead Sea in Israel, you've got, they say that is actually where Sodom and Gomorrah was before God destroyed it. And that's why there's a lot of salt around that area. So that's what really happened to Lot's wife. She was going forward with God, going forward out of the place of destruction, or a place that was going to be judged. She was leaving that place, and then she turned back and went back into the place that was being judged, and that's why she was turned to a pillar of salt. She didn't just look back at Sodom and Gomorrah being destroyed and she just turned into a pillar of salt. No, she went back to her old lifestyle. So when we go forward with God, we stay with God. If you turn back from God, you're not fit for the kingdom. You're gonna suffer the judgment of God, and you're gonna be turned into a pillar of salt also.